What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Pit Limiter podcast for episode number 3. I am your host, Zach Buchanan. We have a very special guest this week. For the first time on the PLP, we have a guest. K&N East driver Ryan Vargas joins us. What is going on, buddy?
Nothing much, just hanging out, talking to you.
Awesome. It's good to have you here.
Of course, yeah, no, it's always, I love doing these. This will be fun.
So let's jump right into it. Ryan's here to help us out. We're jumping right into stop and go. Ryan, what do you got for us?
So the first one that I got here, Kyle Busch, he won his 52nd Truck Series win. That's a big deal, and that puts him a lot closer to his 200 career NASCAR National Series wins. That's big. What do you got here?
Davey Hamilton Jr. is arrested on false imprisonment and aggravated assault charges. The 21-year-old is the son of Davey Hamilton Sr., longtime competitor in the Indianapolis 500.
And then now you have Christopher Bell, who got the first win for the Toyota Supra in the Xfinity Series in Atlanta. That was a good one. That was pretty much a dominant performance right there by Christopher Bell.
A little bit of IndyCar news. It was announced over the weekend that Fernando Alonso is going to run the number 66 from McLaren Racing at the Indianapolis 500 this year. As some of you know, they're running Chevy, and they'll be partnered up with Carlin Racing in their efforts for this year's race.
And on Sunday, Brad Keselowski won the first race with the new aero and engine package while going through the flu, which was honestly a little bit impressive. That race was pretty fun to watch.
This is awesome, and I think every short track racing fan could agree. Fans Choice TV is going to stream every K&N East and West race along with the Wheel and Modified series in 2019.
That's really good. That made me excited when I heard that one.
Yeah, definitely. It's a streaming service, so that'll be available live as opposed to having to wait until NBC SN airs it on a tape delay. So let's get to know our guest a little bit more. Ryan Vargas from La Mirada, California, 18 years old. You know, Racing Reference spelled your hometown wrong. They have it as La Miranda.
Yeah, I've had that happen a lot. I've had La Meridian, La Miranda. I even had some names that really don't even have the same letters as La Mirada in it, but it's La Mirada, and people, it's a very easy one to mistake.
So you're 18 years old. You're a senior in high school. You take online classes, right? Because you've relocated to Concord, North Carolina. So tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, I'm still finishing up my senior classes online. Just actually finished up one of my classes already. But it's having gone my whole racing career so far, being in public school. This is definitely a really big change from what I'm used to. But I'm honestly really enjoying just being able to get my schooling done, whenever convenient, because racing, it just kind of takes over your entire life.
Yeah, when people think about racing, they think of, the only obligations that you have is at the track on race day, but quite contrary, you have obligations within the team and sponsors and media and whatever else.
Yeah, no, it's it's especially tough being a high schooler in the sport, like especially kind of in the position that I'm having to go about, having to worry about A, sponsor hunting, B, staying in shape for racing, and C, worry about high school. So, it's a lot to balance, but so far it's going on pretty well.
Now, if I remember correctly, and maybe it's changed since then, you still maintain a 4.0 GPA, correct?
It may have slipped a little bit. It's around the 3. It's in the 3s. It's in the mid 3s. But you know what? Online school, I'll take it. It's definitely tough to sit in front of a computer, but got to keep the A's for racing.
Yeah, that's still pretty impressive. Being on the complete opposite side of the country, having to do online schooling, something that you've never had to deal with before, and still get pretty good grades.
Yeah, and that's one thing my mom wants me to do, is just make sure I have good grades.
So in 2016 and 2017, you were the recipient of the Wendell Scott Trailblazer Award. And people already had taken notice of you by that point, but would you think it's fair to say that that's what puts you on the map?
Yeah, 100%. When I got the first one, I kind of didn't realize how big of a deal it was. And then when 2017 rolled around and we had, because in 2016, we didn't really have that flashy of a season. We had a couple good runs. It was my rookie year. We were just racing for the sake of racing. Just trying to learn and get experience racing late models and stuff. And then when 2017 rolled around, it was kind of like, okay, we need to hunker down and start winning races. And we got a good handful of wins in 2017, and then getting it for the second time and being the only person to ever get two, that was a really big deal. And I could tell, when I made the speech for the first time, I saw all the tweets and I saw everybody really mentioning me, and that was a really big deal. So I definitely say that, the getting the award in honor of Wendell Scott, that's Wendell Scott's a big enough name as it is. So to receive an award in his name, not only once but twice, that's something that that definitely goes noticed.
Yeah, that's a big deal for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I remember you talking about 2017, where it was your second year in late models. You said it was time to hunker down, win some races. And an article that you did with NASCAR.com, they talked about the highs and lows of racing, where you have some good days, but a lot of times you have more bad days than good days. I mean, and in part of it says that you were even working out of your own garage. I mean, talk about that year. Talk about those circumstances a little bit.
Yeah, we started the year off working. We never had a shop of our own. Throughout my racing, we always worked out of other shops, and we had some issues at the start of 2017 season that rendered us without a shop. And heading throughout the season, we kind of went from place to place, trying to just have a place to work on the car. And at the midpoint of 2017, 2017 was in overall it was a very tough year. There was a lot of highlights in it, but overall it was very tough. We started the year off strong. We got ourselves my first ever late model win, and then the week after we got caught up in a wreck that we shouldn't even really been a part of, and it tore up a lot of stuff. Really took us out of contention for the next 3 months, and really the whole summer was just a rebuilding process. And I spent a lot of time qualifying in the rear and having to race my way back up because we just didn't really have that raw speed anymore. But the biggest thing that I tell this story a lot. I've told it a lot, especially recently, because of all the stuff that's been happening. But the biggest story, the biggest thing that really changed my demeanor in racing was we were in that middle of that slump. We had, like I said, we were qualifying terribly. We weren't running so well. We were running at tracks that I know like the back of my hand, and I was running seventh and sixth. That's something you just don't want to do, especially at your home track. And I was very bummed. It was after the first main event. We had a terrible first main event, and I think we actually wrecked. And I was sitting in the trailer. I was all bummed out. I was punching the wall. I was mad. And my crew chief at the time, Charles Price, he came in and he's kind of sat me down. And he was like, "Listen, I know that this is probably the biggest slump we've had, and it sucks. Like I'll be honest with you, we're terrible right now. I know that, but if you go out there and work alongside these guys and show these guys that are working on your car that you care and that you give a damn, it's gonna show them that hey, this guy's worth working for. Because for them, they don't have to be at the racetrack. They could be out. It's a Saturday night. They could be out going around town having fun, but they're there and hanging out, working on a race car for me. And that really just kind of put it into perspective. And from there, the whole demeanor of my season really changed. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, we came back and got a win. So, that's something that is a big turning point in our season, and really just a turning point in how I feel overall towards racing. But
See, that's really interesting that you point that out, because I remember reading in that article that you were really hands on. Like you were just as much a part of the mechanical aspect as you were the driving. I mean, do you enjoy working on cars?
Yeah, I enjoy working on the cars, and I'm not one to tell like, oh, I know everything about a race car. I don't. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't know, and I'm still very much learning. I mean, I spent basically every day when I was at Rev in the shop trying to help on something, and I mean, I'd even bug them at times because how much I'd ask them to help. You know, I just feel I get a lot more satisfaction working on the car and learning how to do stuff myself versus sitting around and watching people do it for me because it almost feels wrong doing that. Like I said, I've grown up having to do this all myself with my dad, and so going into this, going into this team where there's people, who are being paid to work on my car instead of all this other stuff. It's a little bit of a different attitude, but there was a lot of races last year where we'd unload and I'd put the car up on stands and take out the rear gear and send it over to Buzzy. So I mean, it's you know it's one thing to be hands on, it's another to be actually a part of the team. And I tried my hardest to be a part of it. We had a really good relationship going with my crew chief over there, Booker, and now he's the competition director over there. So that's pretty cool to see him get that promotion. But I really enjoy working on the car. Like I said, I just get a lot of satisfaction out of doing that.
That's awesome. Now, I noticed you have a scar. You have two scars, I believe, right? Or is it
It
just
actually,
one?
it actually goes all. Yeah, it's one. It's technically one. It goes all the way around my head. It goes all the way across from the top to the front, across
Okay.
to both sides.
All right. So tell us a little bit about this for those that don't know. Ryan has a scar on his head. Tell us what all goes into that.
So it's a big word, and I don't expect anybody to know it or be able to understand what I say. But I was born with a skull deformation called craniosynostosis. It's actually a lot more common. I think I read a stat. It was like one in every 10,000 kids have it. Um, it was either one in 10,000, one in 100,000. Um, but it's actually a lot more common than people think. And so basically, what it is that when I was uh, a baby, my soft spot closed, and the right side of my head was flat. So when I was 11 months old, I had surgery. I was one of the first people to really get the surgery, and it was actually documented on Direct TV or something like that. And I had the surgery when I was about 11 months old, and you know, a lot of people ask me about it, and I'm always open to talk about it, because it's just kind of part of who I am. I'm that kid with the funky haircut. I mean, so I don't mind, talking about it because it's kind of the elephant in the room when people see me.
See, when I saw that haircut for the first time, I thought it was just that was part of you. That was just that was everybody's got their own hairstyle. I thought that was a part of it, and then I did some digging and I found that out. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people who've had it and they've talked to me, and they've grown up kind of shy about it and they don't like talking about it. I mean, for me, I kind of use it as kind of like my motivation. I see it as hey, I'm here because of that. Like, if I didn't have this surgery, I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to kind of get up in the morning and do this and pursue this dream of being a stock car driver. So it's it's one day at a time, but looking in the mirror and seeing that scar, and it just kind of puts it all in perspective for me.
So tell me a little bit about because you were a part of the NASCAR Next class of 2018 and part of the Drive for Diversity program. Tell me about, for those that don't know, what goes into applying for this and becoming a part of NASCAR Next and the Drive for Diversity program.
So becoming part of the Drive Diversity program, that in itself is first of all, making it being even considered to go to the combine is a big deal. There every year there's such talented drivers that go, and this year, from last year to this year, we were, I hate saying but this, when you go to the combine, it is just you. But this last 2 years, I was one of the top ranking people at this year's combine and last year's combine. Last year's I was first fastest, and this year I was like third or fourth and then I was like third on the consistency chart, which is what they really care about more. But you fill out an application, to get on the team, to really actually make the combine, and then from there they either accept you or they take you or they say, thank you for applying, applying next year, and I was fortunate to really be picked my first year of applying, and I went to the combine, guns a blazing, really, and I was able to impress when I needed to, and interviews and stuff like that. That stuff just kind of has always come natural to me. Like I just love talking. I mean, as you could probably tell from me talking right now, I could talk for hours about racing. And so when I showed up, just this big mouth kid with a scar on his head, it was a pretty big deal. And making the team last year was a blessing. And it's a real bummer I couldn't get back for a second year, but looking back on it, I'm very, very happy to have had the opportunity to do that.
The K&N car, which is what you ran last season for Rev Racing, part of the 3-car operation. Take me through that season, because it was your first year in a big car like that, and first year in the K&N series, obviously. Take me through your season as you progress as a driver, not only in that series but as a whole, and as you learn over the course of the year. Take me through that.
Yeah, I mean, by no means was the season flashy. It was your stereotypical rookie year. I just bided my time each race and tried to be there in the end. And for most of the cases we were, which was good. We had a couple good runs. Iowa was very good. New Hampshire was good until it got cut short. We qualified really good at Langley and Gateway. Had some really good. We've had some very solid performances throughout the year. And each time I got in the car, I learned something new, especially when it came to setup wise or just how to drive these cars at the bigger tracks. You have to learn how to drive these cars using the air, and that was something that I really wasn't expecting to have to learn this year going into it. But after talking to my teammates at the time, Chase and Ruben, they helped me out a little bit going into those races, and it was good to have those guys to lean on. And we ended up, my goal for the season was just to finish all the laps. And I think there's only one or two races where no, there's only one race I didn't finish, and so I mean, I'll take that. I mean, it was a very good year, very successful year. We finished sixth in the points, second out of the three teammates, and it was you know, I'm I loved every bit of it, but at the same time, it was probably one of the most. I'm not going to lie to anybody. It was stressful. There was a lot of pressure this year that I wasn't anticipating. Not only from you know from fans, but from kind of just the eyes of the sport and from the eyes of your team. I felt a lot of times throughout the year that I was letting my team down. They came from having Colin Cabry, who's who had proved his success in his early K&N career, and then had a solid showing a couple times. But there was a lot of times this year where I felt I let them down, and I'm very, like I said, there's you know racing K&N and racing NASCAR. It's a brutal sport, and there was a lot of pluses to the year, but as I said, as you read in that one article heading into the 2018 season, there's a lot more bad days than good ones, and I take all those bad days as learning experiences, and I move forward. And I've you know going into 2019, I was hoping to, like I said, have that second year and really build on that relationship and go to these tracks for the second time, and be able to say, okay, we're here for the second time. Now this is my place. This is my ballpark. But stunt racing is so unpredictable, and it's you can never predict it. And unfortunately, with them dissolving one of the teams, they ended up dissolving one of the basically my team, and basically the 4 team, and they made the 4 team the 2 team. So I'm sorry, they made the 2 team the 4 team. So with Ruben and his statistics, I mean, they'd be dumb not to take Ruben. And Chase has proved himself to be a capable winning race car driver. There was not a lot of cases last year. I mean, I don't think there really was one where we were out there competing for a win, but we were out there competing for some very good finishes. But you know, Pace and Ruben, they're going to be able to deliver some wins this year. And I feel if I would have had another year, I could have been able to deliver that to them. But you know what I mean? It's racing. It's part of the deal. You just got to put your head down and keep moving forward. And I'm 100% blessed for the opportunity that Rev gave, and I still have that opportunity to go back with them in 2020. And I'm definitely working to get back there because I love those guys there. They really they have a good operation there, and it was really unbelievable being a part of that.
I think a lot of people would be glad to see you back. Now, when did it become apparent to you? I mean, was it throughout the season, or was it at the end of the year, or after the season was complete that that they were going to dissolve the two team into the four
So
team?
um, there was rumblings throughout the year. It started a little bit after I'd say Gateway, which is like about 3 races to the finale. And that kind of put a little bit of a lump in my throat because yeah, I beat Chase in points, and but I mean, he had a lot of bad luck this year, and he's a great driver. And there was, yeah, we had a very consistent year, and we finished all the races, and like I said, very consistent year. Just we laid down good results, had an overall very solid year, went home. Chase, he had a lot of races where he was up front, and then something would happen, he'd wreck, or something would break on his car. And so Chase and Ruben, they're going to be out there and they're going to be able to deliver Rev some wins this year. And, um, I knew that there was going to be some mumblings of that. I had a feeling that it was going to be dissolved into a 2-car team. And then it was kind of after Dover where I was told, hey, one of the teams is it's going to be a 2-car team next year. And so I had to go in the combine guns ablazing. And, the combine, like I said, the combine went very well. From what I understand, I was one of the top people on the combine. So, just some things just never, some things just aren't meant to be. And like I said, I'm unbelievably blessed for, like I said, because there's so many kids out there who never get this shot. I mean, never get this shot. And when I've had so many people ask me, you do not believe how many people are like, oh, so you must hate Rev. Oh, you must hate Chase, or oh, you must hate Ruben. Hell no. I go by the ref shop every so often here and there because I know all those guys. They're all great people there, and I have a great relationship with all of them. They have a great program, like I said, and I'm great buddies with Chase Ruben. I was just hanging out with Chase earlier today. We were at a trampoline park working out. So there's still that relationship there, and there's still that, like, I guess you would say, family type of bond there. And I'm definitely working to get back in that scene 2020 at Rev.
You said family. There was I think really from what I noticed, there was a big wave of support when you announced on Twitter that you would not be returning to Rev
Yeah.
in the seat of the number 2 car this season. There was a lot of support, whether it was on Twitter, whether it was like Black Flags Matter. He made that YouTube video talking about your upcoming season and what happened, with Rev dissolving that third team. How does it feel to have that kind of support after, something that big that could have derailed your career?
Yeah, it was hard for me to really like kind of take it all in. I put out that tweet, and I wrote I wrote that whole little letter. It was on a tweet. If whoever's listening, they could go check out my Twitter, go down a couple photos, and you'll see the whole letter. That was all from the heart. I wrote that about 8 hours after I was told I didn't make Rev. And it was very, I thought well into that. And when I put out the tweet, I thought I'd get, like a couple retweets, a couple, people messaging me or something like that. What I wasn't expecting was the hundreds of likes, the hundreds of people talking about it, hundreds of people sharing it, hundreds of people sending me messages. It was I mean, you could hear it. You could hear it from me right now. I mean, I'm a little overwhelmed talking about it. Like it's, you know, I knew it was a big deal, and I say this, just because this is what happened, and not, I'm not trying to put one down from the other, but I knew it was a big deal when I saw Jeff Gluck and Jim Utter and people like them tweet about it and share my post when they didn't share Rev's or share NASCAR's post about the new team. I knew that it was a big deal when I saw that. When I had people who are very respected in the sport and other drivers who are very respected in the sport reach out to me and post about me, and it was, I was just blown away. And it took a lot of the, I wouldn't say pain. It took a lot of the, oh man, I'm so worried. It took away that feeling of what are people going to think? Because I didn't want to have that come out and have people say, oh man, this kid only got 1 year and he didn't make it back. He sucks. I didn't want people thinking that, because, like I said, and like I said, I'm the first one to say it. This year was not flashy. It was not flashy by any means, but it was a solid year, and it took a lot of effort. And I didn't want people to think that I just sucked and lost the ride. And from what I've seen and the outreach from people, I'm sorry, I'm like I said, this is a lot to talk about, but like I said, it put into perspective how well my hard work paid off. All the times that I went to the track and made time for the people who others, wouldn't make time for. How, it's taking the time to stop and talk to that fan, stuff like that, and going to the track when others would not go to the track. Like I would show up to the track and show up to like I said, the truck races and other to the K&N track, and shake everybody's hand and hand out a business card when I can. I mean, I've always done the Carl Edwards method, handing out business cards, because like I said, the sport's unpredictable. Even at the beginning of the season at Rev, I always made sure I got everybody's name and shook their hand, because like I said, the sport's unpredictable. And even then I was preparing for in case something like this happened. And all that preparation and all that hard work throughout the year, it proved itself right there.
I gotta say, going to the track and seeing people that you don't even know wearing number 2 Ryan Vargas gear, that has to be one of the best feelings in the world, doesn't it?
Yeah. I only saw that once this year, but it's unreal. Like I said, I started this year as kind of a no name. In my opinion, I started the year as a no name. Not many people know who I was, and being kind of thrown onto the scene, being a part of the D4D and part of NASCAR Next, and all that outreach and support. Like, I'll go off on a little story here. We went to Bristol, and I'm gonna give my buddy Will Rogers here a little bit of slack here, but me and him went to Bristol to watch, to brand and B2B, and they opened the turn 3 gate for drivers to cross, and it was me and him walking out, and there's always fans waiting along that line, and so there's always a big group of fans, and I just heard all of them start calling out my name and asking for autographs. And I mean, here's me, whose best finish in the K&N series was 6th, next to Will, who's won 3 K&N races, against some of the biggest names by any means, and they didn't know who he was. And it was just kind of like, wow, like that's my footprint on this community. I've put that footprint there. And I'm not talking about Will. I love Will. But
he's in your vlogs after all.
Exactly, he's in my vlogs. He's one of my best friends, and I love that dude. He's such a great guy. He's helped me out through a lot of times too. But I always give him crap for that one. But it's like I said, that's just been my footprint, and it's really incredible to see that. And now I go to every track. I mean, it hit me this year. I'm sorry that I'm going on. I hope I'm not doing it like going off or anything. But it hit me this year at Daytona. I went to the 500, and I was walking through the garage area, and this mom came up to me, and she was like, "Hey, my son is a really big fan of yours," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I went up and I followed. My mom was like, "Do you mind coming over and saying hi to him?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And I go see the kid, and that kid, he was basically jumping off the walls,
That's
and
awesome.
and and I'm just me. Like I'm not like I look like I'm normal. Like I'm a normal dude, I swear. And this kid, like he was so ecstatic to see me. Like he was just it was like he just met his like idol, and it was like this is insane. So that's something that was really cool to have, really cool to see.
That's awesome. And you talked about going to the track. You were at the 500. There were. I remember there were several instances where you took over NASCAR's Instagram story, and I think Snapchat too. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Their Instagram. I did NASCAR's Instagram story last year, and I've done. I think I did upwards of like seven or eight takeovers last year. Um, this year at Speed Weeks, I did two tracks. I did Daytona's Snapchat for the Clash, and then I did Texas's Instagram for um the duels. So that was yeah, it was for the duels. So that was fun. I love doing that stuff. I love being able to show the NASCAR fans and the community the personality of not just myself but all my friends like Will and Elijah and my buddy Brad and all those people. I mean,
Those guys are some characters. Like one of the guys that first came to mind when we were coming up with ideas for guests. One of them instantly, Brad Perez.
yeah,
Cause
I
that
mean,
dude is hilarious. I mean,
yeah,
just such a character, just raw character.
yeah. I mean, and that's what That's some. He's someone that the sport needs. Him,
Yeah.
they the sport needs people like them because to have people who just kind of have that positivity about the sport and just kind of like they just kind of make you happy to be there, and it's really cool to have friends like them who know not only just kind of provide that attitude but support me as well. So it's very cool to have that.
Now, the roles were kind of reversed, if I remember correctly. You were at Charlotte Motor Speedway a couple months back. Buddy Brad Perez is running a Legend race,
Yeah,
and all you guys were there. And I think he got a
yeah,
top five, didn't he?
he did get a top five, and I had to help. I helped him out a little bit that day, and it was one of his first oval races, and I remember he'll even tell anyone who says it. My demeanor that day was totally like because he's seen me like normally, like he's never seen me talk to him seriously, like seriously as in like talking almost down to him, and I should say talking down, but like coaching, I guess. And
Yeah.
he got in the car and he went out for practice, and he was all over. It was bad. He'll even tell you it was bad. And I come to the car and I'm like, well, you're 4 tenths slower than you were the first practice. But good news is you have qualifying later, and so you have room to gain. And he's like, all right. And I'm like, so what's up? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, can you see? He's like, I mean, I can. I'm all right. And I'm like, all right, get out of the car. I'm putting some pads in.
Oh,
I
couldn't reach the
like
pedals.
I no, he could see, but the thing is, it's being comfortable in a race car is what comes first.
Yeah,
Once you develop a feel for a car, then you start worrying about, oh, let me get lower or stuff like that. Being comfortable comes first, and so I stuffed about 4 or 5 inches of padding underneath that seat, and you know, and I just talked. I was like, dude, stop stressing it. Go out there, do your laps, run your race. This isn't something that you need to stress about. Just go out there and run laps. He went out there and finished fifth, and it was like totally different demeanor from those practices. So it's cool to be able to have helped my buddy like that, and he's a good dude.
definitely, definitely. Now, 2019. I know. I mean, we've even talked about it. You've been pretty open about this. You said your plans aren't necessarily set in stone.
No.
Now, now you are scheduled to run 6 races with the sponsorship from Lombard Brothers Gaming, correct?
Yeah, so we have well, I was scheduled to do 6, now it's 5 because the first one rained out. 5 weekends, 10 total races. And so that's a very fun deal, I brought that over. I brought that to them because, it's local to them and I know they've been in that scene and I was like, hey, this would be a really good and plus it's a really good content grab, having, especially being local to them and having the race car kind of at at their availability, they could just show up and there's a race car with them on it and they could do whatever they want with it.
Right.
It made a lot of sense to go with them, and I've known Joseph now since July, and they're really good people, and I'm pumped to do that. But no, it's total. Right now, there's a total of 26 races this year in late models, and then I'm working to do. I'll say this: I'm working to do my national series start this year.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
That'd be quite a now. Obviously, if it's still in the works, you probably couldn't tell me the team. Is there a track that's on your radar that you want to make your first national series start with?
Yeah, it's all. I mean, anyone can tell you that's a jump. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure that it's at a place that I'm comfortable with. A place that I've been to, or somewhere that I know I can go out there, and I'm not gonna be not figuring out the track. Now I can just go there and worry about figuring out the car instead of having to learn about the track. So the top of my list right now is Iowa and New Hampshire, and then one that I haven't been to but I would like to go to is Phoenix. Phoenix is another one that's one that I would like to do. It's a mile track. Looks fun as hell.
And
I just that'd be one that on my list.
I do believe, unless I'm wrong, because I know it was talked about, but I do believe ISM Raceway is that coming back as a race for the K&N series?
Yeah, that's the K&N East finale. I mean, not East, West finale this year.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. That'll be good for them this year.
Because it was gone for a couple years, I do believe.
Yeah, they took it out. I don't know why.
I believe it was for the gosh, what's that USAC race that they run there? I'm drawing a blank.
Copper Classic.
Copper, yeah, yep.
I don't know. It was very, like I said, it was very weird. They just suddenly up and took it out, which was surprising to me when I saw that. But no, I don't make the decisions on that.
Right. Yeah. Hey, there was plenty of people vocal about that was a bad idea, and
Yeah.
panned out that it was a bad idea and it's back. So that's good.
Yeah.
So your plans for 2019, we've talked about that a little bit. What's kind of set in stone and what's a possibility? We do definitely know what's going on with your social media stuff. You do a little segment on Instagram called Power Hour. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, that kind of like originated from I had a friend of mine back home. Her name was Maddie, and whenever she'd come into town, I would always take her phone from her, and I'd steal her phone and start posting on her Snapchat saying, "Ah, it's the Ryan Vargas Power Hour, welcome." And that's just kind of a phrase that stuck. And it was just kind of recently. I think it was frankly, it was last week that I just kind of was like, you know what, I'm just going to go live and sit here and talk to people, talk to fans, talk to other drivers, whoever honestly requests to go live.
Yeah.
It really took off. I mean, it gets a solid amount of viewers throughout the entire time. I mean, we're going into the 1 a.m., 2 a.m. time slot. And
yeah, I was there.
and there's still like 40 people on there.
Yeah.
Live.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and for those that don't know, when you go live on Instagram, you have the option to be able to let people that are viewing your stream to request to join. So you could have 2 people doing a live at the same time. What Ryan does is he allows the viewers to request to join. He'll talk to them for a couple minutes, and then move on to the next one. You had Chase Cabry on there last Saturday.
Yes, I
That
did.
was the first time that I've heard or seen him talk. I gotta tell you, that guy's a character.
Yeah. And fun fact, I guess I might as well just kind of throw it out there. Me and him are going to start a podcast. Um, and so that's coming soon. Be ready for that, whoever's listening. Because that'll be another one, and I'm ready to rival you. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But it's been something that I've wanted to do for a while, and I know Chase wanted to do it for a while, and we both, our senses of humor bounce off each other like crazy. So I mean, it's it'll definitely be something that'd be a lot of fun for people to watch, and we hope to kind of bring the whole demeanor of the Ryan Vargas Power Hour to that podcast. We're trying to have it so that people can. I think we're trying to figure out a way so that we can get people on the podcast via like a call in or via Discord or something like
Discord. I think Anchor also allows you, if you put the number out there, that it allows you to call in and
Yeah.
have callers.
that. I mean, it'll be something that we're working on, but we're working on the technical stuff. But no, Chase is
Right.
a good guy, and like I said, this is going back to what I was talking about earlier. Like I said, people think that I just have bad blood to those guys, but no, I have great relationship with all the Rev folks, including Chase, including Ruben, including Nick, and all those folks over there. Because at the end of the day, we spent a year working together, and I guess you could say I'm a fan of theirs now, and they're all fans of me, and I'm a big supporter of them because they support me, and it's I'm of course the end of the day, I hope to get back in that spot and be alongside them again.
So you do something on your YouTube, and I kind of noticed it a couple months back. NAS vlogs.
Idea.
Where did this come from? Where did this idea come from?
So I kind of had this idea like early last year, and I wish I would have done it early last year so we kind of had so we could have more content at like a racetrack or during race weekends. But there. So the idea of it is, it's basically this. It's I'm a race car driver. I hang out with a bunch of other people who are race car drivers, or who are in the sport, or who work in the sport, or just are fans. And the vlog most of the time has much to nothing to do with the fact that we all race. Like it puts us as race car drivers in a lifestyle situation, and it shows that it's to show kind of like, hey, we're normal people too, and we joke the same thing. We joke, laugh at the same memes. We do all this, we do all that. It's like the last vlog I put out, and I highly recommend everybody check it out because that one's one of my favorite ones so far. I mean, it's just us sitting in the stands watching the truck race. Like that's basically what it is. And then it shows me, Nick, and Chase, and Ernie go-karting. Like, but if I would have never told you that we were all race car drivers, you wouldn't know. Because that's just kind of what I try to put off in the vlog, is that, it's a lifestyle vlog, not a racing vlog.
Right. And you talked about trampoline park earlier.
Yeah.
You and Chase go there and work out. You guys did a vlog there. Tell me a little bit about this trampoline park. What all you guys do there? Because you said it's part of your workout. You said it is a workout.
Yeah, I was there earlier today, and I'm sore.
I can imagine.
But I mean, we go over about like an hour and a half. Just they have this like super tramp. That's what it's called. For those listening, look it up. It's crazy. And Chase is ridiculously good at it. He's just ridiculously good at everything. Everybody calls him the ATM, the athletically tuned Mexican. He just knows how to do, like you tell him to do something and he'll figure out how to do it, and it's crazy. I'm figuring it out as we go, but I mean, you're tired by the end of it. I mean, I was wore out tonight, and that's just some of the things I like to do. Like, I like to go rock climbing with these guys, and you're going to see more vlogs like that, where we're just doing stuff at a random place. And, I've even kind of experimented with some stuff being almost scripted and kind of like skits, I guess you could say. And, I hope to kind of convey that more in the future. But I think this will be something that will grow a little bit more. I don't expect anything big from it, but I hope it grows a little bit more because, I'm having so much fun doing it. First of all, you've got to have fun if you're going to do it. And,
Right.
Being able to show all my friends' personalities and show the jokes we laugh at and show, the friend group that I have is so incredible. You got Will and Brad and Elijah, Chase, Nick, this vlog is so broad, and that's what's so great about it. Like, there's such an incredible cast, I guess you could say, of people on it, and it's like it's fun to kind of put them in the. It's fun to put these people in an environment where they're not normally seen. They're normally seen at a racetrack doing race car things. Here, they're somewhere else doing totally different things and probably things that they don't even post. So, it's cool to put that out there.
Yeah, I think you could probably definitely bounce a couple ideas off Elijah because I gotta say, he's like a marketing mastermind.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, for those of you that don't know, Elijah Burke works for Chip Ganassi Racing. When he graduated from college, he had to put out a video, and it was basically him celebrating that he graduated college, but it was done up like a NASCAR victory lane interview, and it was probably one of the coolest things. I mean, NASCAR on NBC did something about it, and he's since then put out several other things on his social media. But yeah, definitely, I think that's. He wants any ideas, I think you could definitely get some from him.
Yeah, no, he's funny. He's a great dude. He was actually with us today too. I mean, I love talking to him and I love getting some ideas from him because he always delivers some really good content, and that's just kind of the name of the game on social media nowadays. So, he's a good guy to have around.
Now you watched the Cup race yesterday, or on Sunday, I guess. That package, man. I know. You said you were liking it a little bit. That package that the Cup Series ran. What did you think of it?
I think it's the overall fix? No, not by any means. But I watched last year's Atlanta race, and I'm just gonna say it. That was boring as hell. Um, you know, it was not. It's tough to watch those races, especially. And here's where here's my little rant on the Cup package from last year, and that people oh, it's so great. If you go back and you look at that Cup package, the Gen 6 Cup cars, they're not designed to have low downforce. They're not. They were designed to have a big spoiler and a big splitter. And that's just how they race. Go back and look at 2014.
2014, yeah. I was just gonna say that was a great year.
Exactly.
Especially the playoffs.
Yeah, go back and look at 2014 and look at these cars and how they turn and how they set in the corners, how they race side by side. I was watching a video of the 2014 Atlanta race, and it was just incredible.
They look so on top of the track.
Yeah, and I remember watching that season as a fan, and I was on the edge of my seat. And as the seasons went on, and I saw this lower downforce, like, I get it. Oh, well, it makes it easier for the cars to pass and stuff like that. But at the same time, it makes them so unstable that it's tough to even watch. They can't even really run side by side.
Right.
Like, someone made a comparison video from 2018 Richmond to 2008 or 2009 Richmond, and it was like, this is dumb. And that's not even a big track. It's a mile track.
Right.
In that video from 2009, it was such better racing. And that's just because they had so much more aero grip. And so, I think this is definitely a move in the right direction. I was entertained throughout the race, to be honest with you. The finish was good. The restarts were
insane.
Yeah, to say the least, they were insane. And
3 and 4 wide, yeah.
I'm gonna go to Vegas this weekend. and be able to see the 2019 package for the first time. I was at the All Star, but that's a different package because they had a lot less horsepower there as well.
Yeah.
And I see the comment a lot. Oh, they're going so slow.
It doesn't look like it.
No, I mean they're not. I mean, yeah, compared to recent years, yeah, they are. But I mean, they're still going 180, 190, almost 190 miles an hour. Like
Yeah.
they're hauling ass. And
Right.
I remember I was at the All Star race last year too, and I mean, to be honest with you, they didn't look. I mean, they looked slow. Don't get me wrong, they did look slow, but I mean, it wasn't as drastic as I thought it'd be. And so, watching the Atlanta race this year, it's like this is fine. Like I like this. Like, so I mean, I guarantee. Here's the thing: if you would have never said, if they would have never said they took away horsepower, I wonder what the argument would be now.
I don't think anybody would have noticed.
Exactly. I guarantee you that if the fans didn't know that they took away horsepower, they'd be saying that was one of the best Atlanta races in years.
Yep. And I mean,
Guaranteed.
it's definitely worth pointing out. I mean, we don't need to be running 200-mile-an-hour average laps on intermediates. Like I think Michigan, they'd be going almost 220 into turn one, and be borderline. I think last year they eclipsed 200 average for a lap, which is insane for a Cup car. So I mean,
stock car.
In general, across the board, I don't think. I mean, we don't need to be going that fast. Especially, I mean, you look at the danger of the speed. I mean, these cars are very safe, but it's just unnecessary to be going that fast.
And the thing is, at the end of the day, you got the. It's a sport, but you also got to provide the entertainment, and that is a harsh reality.
Yeah.
And with how they were last year and how they were in recent years, like it was tough to watch for me.
Yeah.
What they couldn't run side by side. I mean, go back and look at the last go back and look at like the 2017 Michigan races and watch how they go into turn one. Like they start off, of course they're side by side heading into turn one, but they're single file and spread out by the exit because of the fact that they just can't run side by side.
Yeah.
Like they just can't. Like there's nothing they could do. And so it's like, to me, that just kind of eliminated some of the excitement factor. Like it was on like it gave some people in like the bottom lane like no shot.
Yeah.
So, this package, the outside, like for years, the outside lane has been at Atlanta. For years, the outside lane on restarts was terrible, and you couldn't restart up there, and you couldn't do anything. This year, we saw Kyle Larson restart on the outside several times and take the lead.
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows you what this does.
And it really puts NASCAR.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I am too. And it really puts NASCAR in a tough situation. Because for years, people complained about, oh, this sucks. This racing's terrible. They can't run side by side. It's all spread out. We've got 9 cars on the lead lap. This isn't fun. I'm not going to watch anymore. And then you do something like this, and on paper, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit of a skepticist about it.
I think everyone was.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's a ton of unknowns. And, I went into it with an open mind, but still very skeptical, and you look at what we had, and it was very entertaining. But people looking at this on paper, they're like, what are they doing? This is more of a reason for me not to race, because it's obvious they're trying to manufacture something. But the racing, I mean, I think was just fine. I will say though, one thing that I do want to point out, and you said it's not the fix either. I think the illusion of there's a bunch of cars running close together, like as in a whole pack, people see that as good close racing, which to an extent it is, but there was a lot of passing yesterday.
Yeah,
regardless.
I mean, and the thing is, like, people get the misconception, like, oh, this package is, they told us we have pack racing, it's restrictor plate. No, they said they were going to have closer racing.
Yeah.
And so, watching the Cup race on Atlanta, I saw closer racing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think people expected to see pack racing, even though NASCAR said you'd definitely be lifting. There's going to be fall off with the tires. People still expected to see pack racing, and I think those people were disappointed. But you'd have to severely limit them on horsepower to create true pack racing at Atlanta, and it's not something you can really create because Atlanta, you're turning what, probably 3/4 of the lap or 2/3 of the lap, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So to be able to draft, you'd have to be going in a straight line to be able to draft that much, and you just can't on that small of a track.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just especially, and Atlanta is so tough to really gauge it too. I mean, the tire fall off is ridiculous there. So I mean, these guys, they're they're sliding around like, oh, the cars are so underpowered. I mean, I don't know if you guys were watching any of the practices or not, but if you saw any of the onboards, they were still hustling these cars.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, it looked fun.
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, it looked fun as hell. And
it
so,
did look very fun.
I mean, it made me want to get out there more. So, there's as a fan, the fan in me was entertained, and
Yeah.
I was very pleased with what I saw. And
Now,
like I said, is this the overall fix? No, but there's definitely room to improve.
definitely. Now, I think the one thing that I think took away from the race was the tire failures. Now, I don't know if this is 100% on Goodyear, not knowing what they were working with going into it, or if it was on, the teams. Maybe the teams were running a more aggressive camber, or just more aggressive setup across the board, where maybe they were, you know, eating up those tires. That I don't know. I haven't heard anything reported
Well,
on that, but
the one thing that I think is that, for years we've had low downforce, low load, stuff like that. And now you have these cars where they're carrying upwards of 10 more miles an hour through the corner, 10, 15, 20 more miles per hour through the corner. That's a lot more load on those cars,
yeah,
load on the tires. So, I mean, it's going to be a big deal when the tires go through there, you know, I can almost tell you that Goodyear probably wasn't as prepared as, and I'm not saying that that was a bad thing. Like, I think not many people really kind of factored that in either. I know I didn't. So,
yeah,
um, this will be very cool to see. I'm excited to see how this goes.
yeah. Now, some people were saying this, and I think there was kind of mixed reactions. Do you think it's time for Atlanta to repave now?
The racer in me says no. Fan says yes, but don't repave it like Texas.
Oh, yeah, like completely reconfigure it. Yeah, I
Well, what angered me about it is when I read their plan with it, and then they were like, "Oh, it's going to be this much banked at the bottom, but we're going to take away banking at the top." Wait, what? That's
yeah,
makes sense.
that didn't quite make sense.
They're not going to be able to run side by side then. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I love Texas, but that race just gives me chest pain.
yeah. Well, and Kentucky has done the same thing. Well, something similar with turns
Yeah.
3 and 4. And I think something I've noticed with recent track repaves over the last couple of years, it doesn't seem to take rubber very well. And I mean, there's tracks that have been repaved for 3, 4 years now, and they're still struggling to be able to put down rubber. And it makes me really wonder what goes in, because I wonder if it's a different blend than what they've run in past years. Maybe it's something that's a little more conservative that would save the track a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, like, it's almost like a waiting game, though, which sucks, because I guarantee you in 7 years, Texas will be a good race. It won't be as good as it was, but it'll be good. It'll be better.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that in 7 years, Michigan is going to be just as good, if not better than Fontana.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah,
I mean, already the racing's pretty solid there. I mean, it's always been pretty good there, in my opinion. And you factor in the fact that as the years go on, I mean, that track was recently repaved. I think it was 2011, 12,
Michigan, 2012. Yes.
2012. So, I mean, it's still fresh asphalt pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean, give it a couple years, and I think Michigan will be one of the best races on the schedule.
definitely. And maybe, I mean, I don't see them sticking with this package for many years, but if this package there, I think potential to see some decent racing there.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited for the 2 mile tracks.
So that wraps it up on this week of the Pit Limiter podcast. I really want to thank Ryan for joining us, being the first guest on the show. Ryan, tell our viewers where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, they could find me on Instagram at RTRV23, and then they can find me on Twitter at the _ Rhino23, and on Facebook my racing page is at Ryan Vargas Racing, and my YouTube is Ryan Vargas.
Awesome. Keep an eye on his timeline, by the way, for his podcast that he's got coming up with Chase Cabry, NAS Vlogs, Power Hour, anything he's got going on. It's probably going to be exciting. Make sure you guys also follow the Pit Limiter podcast on Twitter at the Pit Limiter. If you miss an episode and you want to go back and watch it, we're on YouTube as well, the Pit Limiter podcast. Make sure you like us on Facebook and subscribe if you're listening on any of the platforms that we're streaming on. I really appreciate everybody listening in this week on the Pit Limiter podcast. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, man. I love doing these, so, I mean, thank you for having me.
It's awesome. It's a pleasure. Welcome to come back anytime. And we'll see you guys next week on the Pit Limiter podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye, everybody.